Hi there, and welcome to Gaining Vision. I'm Melanie. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's been something I've learned the hard way, and I can't wait to get into it with you. So hold that thought for 1 minute. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like, and share. So let's get to it. The most important reasons and things you need to consider before you get married. So I speak from experience. I was married prior to my wonderful marriage now, and it didn't work out so well. And I learned a lot of things along the way. So here are some tips and tricks that I want you to really consider before taking the dive to get married. It's a leap, really, a leap of faith. But the first thing is, do you like the person? Not love, like. Because this is someone you're planning on spending the rest of your life with. So you actually have to like them. So what does that mean? Let's face it, we're not always going to be the best of the best all the time. There are going to be days that we are terrible to our loved one, especially to our spouse, because we can get away with it. They're supposed to love us unconditionally. But if you don't like them, life is going to get really, really rough. So you have to like what they stand for and who they are as a person. So that evolves into, do they share the same values as you do? Do they share the same beliefs that you have? Now this gets a little tricky because when you're merging perhaps two different cultures or upbringings, it is important to realize that there are differences. But there are differences that perhaps you can work through. But if you've been raised to raise your children you were raised a certain way to have beliefs that you will raise your children a certain way, and you get married to someone who disagrees with what you've been brought up with, when you decide to have children together, that's going to be a problem. If you were raised in a house where women were assigned to stay home and do all the housework, all the cooking and the cleaning and take care of the children, but you're a career woman and you're going to marry a man that has that same beliefs that you should stay home, that's not going to work. So your beliefs and values all have to match. There is room to kind of make accommodations for one another, but the reality is you can't change a person. Women, you can't change a man as much as you want to try. The reality is you can't change them. That's who they are. And you wouldn't want to change somebody you're supposed to love. You're supposed to love them the way they are. Also remember, when you get married to somebody, you are marrying their family. So that mother-in-law, that father-in-law, your sister or brother-in-law, they are becoming part of your family. So keep that in mind. So even if they annoy you or you think that it's okay, I won't see them that often, the reality is they become part of your life on a daily basis. They may not live in your house, but some aspect of what they do and stand for will come to you and affect your life. Is the person you're marrying have ambition? Do they have dreams? Do they have a job? All really important things. If they don't have that when you get married, that's not going to change. You can hope and say, when they get married, they'll see that they have to grow up and they have to smarten up and they'll see me doing these things. It's not going to happen, guys. If they don't have a job, if they're not good savers before you get married, it's hard to teach an old dog tricks. It's hard to change somebody's upbringing. But the reality is, you need to also really have things in common with them. You know the saying, opposites attract? It's true to a certain extent. But when you want to do things together to encourage a relationship to grow and nurture, perhaps you guys both like movies, so you can share that interest, or perhaps you both like sports, or what if one of you is introverted and the other is extrovert? That's not always a terrible thing, but you also have to have things in common, because when it comes down to it, you need to have things to talk about, whether it's over breakfast, late at night, when you're reflecting. But you need to also make sure it's somebody you trust. And I'm not just talking about trust that they're going to do the right thing, but trust that you can share your innermost secrets with, that you know that no matter what happens, they're not going to hold those against you. You have to make sure that this is somebody that you're not only going to be your spouse, but they're going to be your best friend. You're going to grow together. You're going to learn together. You're going to love together. Perhaps create a family together. And if you don't trust that person to have your best interest at heart, the relationship is doomed. We also have to really be realistic. If the person you're going to marry is lazy and they don't like to do things around the house, that's not going to change when you get married. As I mentioned before, some men feel that women should be the one that does the cooking, the cleaning, taking care of the kids, the ironing, whatever. But the reality is, in this day and age, we all have to play our part. We all have to be part of the family. We all have to contribute. Now, in some areas, it may be different. Perhaps the husband is the one that likes to cook or likes to clean. Perhaps it's the woman that goes out and works. Perhaps they both work, which is also really important to know. Because in any relationship, if somebody is at home all the time, waiting for the other to come back home, they're going to want that attention. They've missed you all day. But we have to be considerate to the one that's been out working, because they're tired. And these are things we learn. But if you don't consider all of these factors before you choose the person you're going to marry, it does spell disaster. When you get married, we usually get married for life. We don't get married to get divorced. We don't get married as a game. It's a commitment that we're putting through. So you need to make sure that you are mature enough and your partner is mature enough to know what that commitment means. There's too many marriages, but once it gets hard, there's something that happens in the family that disrupts it a bit, and it's challenging, and you have to work together to overcome it. One gives up so easy and just goes off and says, I can't do this anymore, and they walk away. Or perhaps something happens in the relationship. Perhaps the woman has a baby and puts on some weight, or there's been a tragedy in the family, and the other spouse or partner decides that they're going to go and look elsewhere because they're not as young as they used to be. They're not as beautiful as they used to be. So they start to stray. The reality is you marry someone for life. You know, those vows that we say till death do us part, in sickness and in health, and rich. All those things are realities in a marriage. And unless you and your partner are willing to work at a relationship, at a marriage, it's not worth getting married. Stay boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, partners. Don't go that extra step, because really, truly, marriage is a lifelong commitment. I've heard of so many marriages that lasted 50, 60, 70 years because of communication. Communication is key in any relationship, but especially in a marriage. If you cannot communicate effectively and honestly with your partner, don't do it. Don't get married. When you get married, you're merging two lives together. Not only the stuff you have, the beliefs you have, the dreams you have, you're merging together, and you're evolving into something of a unit, something that's going to really focus on what you together want to build a life to be. Communication is the foundation for that. So many people, our grandparents' age, our parents' age, have prime examples of what a solid marriage should look like. And that comes from respect, communication, and unconditional love. Those are foundational blocks of a marriage. I think in our times, so I'm in my 40s, perhaps our younger generations, they think it's okay, I'll get married, that's what everybody's doing. But if I don't like the person, if they do something that I don't like, I'll just divorce them. That's not what marriage is about. That's a relationship. You can break up with whoever today, tomorrow, next week. But a marriage is a lifetime commitment. One thing that I learned the hard way is that when a lot of these things are not thought of prior to getting married, and you marry for the wrong reasons because it's what you should be doing, or it's what everybody else is doing, or you think you're in love, it doesn't set a good foundation. You do it for the wrong reasons, and then you start to doubt yourself. And you question the person you've married. And then you feel trapped. Because sometimes you may not realize your insecurities and your doubts manifest themselves and rub off on your partner. And then they start to doubt, and then the relationship becomes stormy. And if you guys are not solid, there's no way to really work through it. Divorce is an easy out. It's not a really great one either, because it can be expensive, it can be emotionally scarring, but you want to ensure that you are contributing the best that you can to your marriage to make it successful. So not only are all these points important for you to make sure your partner has, but also that you have. Because let's face it, not everybody is good marriage material. I look at my current marriage, and of course, learning all of my mistakes from my first one, I was able to go in with a better perspective. But what I find is key is we have the same values and morals. We have similar tastes and interests, not exactly the same, but we communicate. And we communicate in a loving way. We talk about things when they aren't great. We listen to each other. We work together for a common goal, and that's to be happy, healthy, and spending time together to make a life for us for the future. No marriage is ever perfect, but there are definitely things to consider before jumping full force into it. I encourage you to really think long and hard before entering into a marriage. Is it for the right reasons? Do you have does your partner have what it takes? And together, will you be able to fight the storms? Because there are rocky times out there. There are times where somebody may lose a job, somebody may misunderstand something, and unless you can communicate and love that individual unconditionally for the rest of your life, really think twice. Is it what you should be getting into? Marriage is a lifetime commitment. I encourage you guys to embrace marriage in a positive way if that's what you choose. But if it's not what you choose, that's okay too. You can have healthy relationships that are intimate and lifelong without actually going that extra step of marriage. So what will it be for you? For me, I'm going to be celebrating my 3rd wedding anniversary coming up. Some say we're still in the honeymoon stage. I wouldn't say that, but I definitely say we've learned a lot in these last 3 years. It's been wonderful, and I love him every day more and more. Marriage can be a beautiful thing if we all put in what it takes to be successful.